But, you know, it is January 2021, and last month, I just had to accept the fact that being a live performance just might not happen. The project consisted of me collaborating with 5 choreographers that I was still searching for. I would be doing all the music composition and sound design, and we would all be the age of 50 and older. Finding 5 very diverse choreographers was actually my first challenge. I need to find choreographers, a diverse set of choreographers. I didn't want this to just be, you know, white faces or non-representative of multiple voices.
Maybe putting a kink in your timeline of timelines, but my brain has been headed more along the lines of my experience as a Black dancer, but not just a Black dancer in America, but a Black dancer from the Caribbean. I find my experience to be continually different, almost from everyone in every way, wherein even as a young dancer at home, I felt as the outcast.
Do you feel that your race played a part in anything you were studying in terms of like any type of feelings that you had? Or did that not even come into play with ballet while you were in the Virgin Islands?
Because, like I said, I'm the majority.
Right.
It was just us. We were the race.
Right.
You know, little Black kids, little Puerto Ricanos, little girls, you know, kids from Venezuela, little kids from Dominica. It was just us. And so it was not, the only thing we knew of anyone from the mainland, anyone white, was a tourist. I was in junior high, the same school where I was taking my dance classes I went to for 2 years. In junior high. My parents are like, you're not going to the public school. Your brothers can go there, but not you. I'm like, I don't understand. That I had little white children in my class. And even then,
yeah,
it was a non-issue.
So they're actually seen as the minority.
Right. And not a big deal. There was no issue. The first time I recognized an issue with my race was maybe my second year here at JU. And I had gone down to Gainesville with a few friends, just walking on the street, and someone drove by in the truck and yelled the N-word. And my friends were like,
getting work as a dance instructor was that assumption, because you are Black, that you were going to teach the world music classes of the African, and like no one associating you with ballet.
Right. I felt for a long time at home, growing up under my director, that she was so blind, like colorblind, the good kind of blind.
Okay.
Right? And then some would say, but is that good? And I'm like, yeah, for her? Yeah.
Is this
a little
was
Danish
she from
lady
Denmark?
From Denmark.
Right, okay.
And she just wanted to share dance.
The Virgin Islands is your birthplace, born, raised.
82 square miles, I'm the majority.
Black. Being Black. Too Black. Black enough. Black. Not Black at all. Being Black.
I'm the majority. I felt for a long time at home, growing up under my director, she was so blind, like colorblind, the good kind of blind. And then some would say, but is that good? And I'm like, yeah, for her, yeah. to be able to come to the mainland and continue to explore ballet. Colorblind. Explore ballet. Too black. Not black at all. Colorblind. Being black. Black.
The Virgin Islands is your birthplace, born, raised.
82 square miles. I'm the majority. I'm the majority. So we're starting out with merengue, and I was like, come on, it's the easiest one, friends. It's just 1, 2. And I had a little one come up, Miss Otley, how many years did you practice merengue to get so good? And I couldn't answer. I was like, look, girl, don't nobody practice merengue. You just do it, right? It was just one of those things I grew up doing. I don't know, Pumpkin. I think I've just always done it.
Yeah, my whole life.
You know, it was just part of the house.
But I have October 16th is when you and I first spoke kind of one-on-one without the group.
Right.
And
just about where my strange brain was headed with this process. And I think my still looming hesitance, not in being a part of this project. I was never hesitant about that, or I think I would have immediately said,
Yeah.
absolutely not. That was never an option. And I think for the very reason that you want this to happen was the very insecurity I've been holding on to,
Well, what is
Oh
that?
my gosh, there's so many. Where do I begin?
I definitely want to know.
I think we might need a couch. No. Just the idea of, my body consciousness and the little whispers that you hear being a dancer and being in the dance world.
I think especially being a dancer.
Especially being a dancer. Yeah. I do know the sound of my own voice now. I do understand my style. So, there's that. And just like you were saying, being over 50 and then being Black.
This past year has not been horrible, nor has it been spectacular. It's been a year equally filled with highlights and wrought with disappointment. My demeanor has always been such that I don't carry very many things on my shoulders. It's not because I don't worry or stress. Truthfully, I think it's because I tend to have so many other things that require my attention that I don't have the time to linger. Even when I probably should. What this year has brought, though, is change. Not the kind of change that decorates our daily existence, but change that has found its way to infiltrate my body, permeate my dreams, and haunt my soul. It's almost existential. This change won't occur instantaneously and will not soon be over. It's still moving me, it's still questioning me, forcing me to evaluate, assess, reassess, and decide every moment of every day. I find myself fighting to be stationary as if bolting myself to a known existence. Reluctant. No. Unsure of how to move into the next. What I am sure of is that this too shall pass, and what's to come next will come next. Things will change. Things will change. Things will change. I will change. I will change. Things will change. I will change. So originally I had approached the choreographers, and the language I was using was asking them to think about transformations through aging, or a transformation through aging. Now, a couple of months have gone by, and that idea of a transformation through aging, and really the definition of what transformation means, really then became more of all of us having reflections through aging, or reflecting back on our lives, or reflecting back and coming back forward to anything that was relevant to us right now in the present moment. And I think the last couple of years, there's been so much going on in the present moment that then I told the choreographers, they don't necessarily have to reflect back. I think the idea then would be their reaction to events, current events, at the age of 50, 55. Our oldest choreographer is 69 years old. So it became less about a transformation through aging and more about us reflecting on our lives, either past or present.
I'm still thinking that I'm not really the age I am.
I get that.
I mean, really, I'm going to be 69 this year.
No.
It blows my
Wow.
mind.
I told you she's a firecracker.
How did that happen? That's all I want to know. You know, and it's, for me, it's the starting point, ladies. It's the starting point. You know, as probably as choreographers, don't you all find that it's the most difficult thing to start something? Because then when it finally has a life of its own, then it kind of just falls into place. But it's just the starting. So I don't know. I might just start with the realization of I'm not really that old.
Your experience being Jewish and being in the South.
Yeah, it was a real eye-opener. You know, we came down here when I was 8, and we came down from an incredibly large Jewish family where everybody was, you know, doing this, to all of a sudden there was no family around and we were getting bomb threats.
Really?
Because we were one of the first Jewish families in Orlando. And
oh my God.
I mean, that was a real mind blower, to say the least, you know. And to take...
But the bomb threats, like, as an 8-year-old now, so what do you, that's
how do you process
third,
that?
about third grade-ish, and then you're in school and
Yes.
people are treating you different.
It was so weird. I remember in 5th grade, I mean, I'll spare you a lot of the very weird stories, but one that was life-changing because, you know, there are things in our lives, like Dr. Phil always says, there are always things in our lives that happen that change who we are. Well, let me tell you, that changed definitely who I was, you know, as an 8-year-old kid. And then I remember going to 5th grade, and the teacher and the students called me a witch as a little kid. So as if I didn't have enough hang-ups already, you know, and it just was one layer on top of the other. So it was very trying.
The teacher called you a witch.
Yeah, I mean, yes, she did.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
I mean, it's, you know, but it's all water under the bridge, as they say. You know, but it made me who I am today, certainly.
Right.
I'm proud. I'm proud of the person that I have become.
So just a little head nod here to this idea of Jewish wedding and celebration. Just my variation on Hava Nagila. More balance than me.
No balance. At all.
Your experience as a child I did not know about until right now. But when we did speak about where you wanted to take your choreography,
Right.
It was an experience you had later in life here with someone who's very Christian, who, and I wrote in my notes, kind of disrespected, it was almost like disrespecting you being a Jew,
Mm-hmm.
for them always coming at you with their religion and their faith.
Right.
And then that was the jump off point for you and I
Yeah.
in the collaboration.
Yeah.
what do we call this? How do I name this show? I wanted a name that was more symbolic than literal. So I myself, for this project, was reflecting kind of on my earliest experiences of misogyny. My earliest experience that I note here is, so I'm about 9 or 10 years old at this point. After I was made the section leader, one boy hated me for it. I can still see his face to this day, but I've forgotten his name since then. So he hated me for it. He had hid behind a curtain on the side of the stage. He was behind the curtain, which I didn't know. I'm standing in front of the percussion section. I'm getting everything set up and ready because that was my job as section leader. And he came out from behind the curtain, and he had a bass drum beater in his hand. And from behind, he smacked me over the head with it so hard that my knees buckled and I kind of fell straight down. And I was disoriented and I had gotten up. And I think the thing that's so shocking about that, for me, when I look back at that, now that I'm over 50, is even at that age, 9 or 10 years old, whether he could explain what he was feeling or not, he was a misogynist. He hated me for being the section leader. He couldn't stand that a girl was the section leader, that a girl was better than him. Especially it's something that has been a myth all these years, especially as a percussionist, that drums and percussion were masculine, required, male strength, which is a myth. It's a lie, not true. What really concerns me about that is I look back and I wonder, not so much, the misogyny. I've been dealing with misogyny my whole life and sexism. That's not going anywhere, at least not in my lifetime. But what I hope for him is I wonder, did he grow up to be a better man?
I have a thought about this time and aging. It's been really interesting not to be in public in this time. I was, you may know this, you may not know this, but I was sick in March and I had the virus.
What I tried to capture sound-wise, was first trying to capture your trauma, the trauma that you felt, and I don't think I'm exaggerating that word. I mean,
Very traumatic, terrifying.
As a dancer, not just as a dancer, as a human being, not being able to walk a few steps without having to have your partner lift you up. You couldn't do stairs. You couldn't, so.
I couldn't stand up. The very worst night, I was sitting outside. I couldn't be indoors because I couldn't breathe indoors. Sitting outside, trying to conjure the energy to bring the food to my mouth, and had to ask Stefan. I think first I was out there trying to stand, and I said, "You have to bring me a chair. I can't stand up." It's just absolutely terrifying.
Trying to get this sense of just trauma.
So my brain is really altered because of how the dancing and performing has, for the last year, I've been presenting my work through film, whether it's taking, the students outside at Brockport and filming on a hill, or taking video here and, putting it all together to see what it makes. The other thing about being outdoors and filming is that I'm the subject, and I'm a subject for my own work in a different way right now than when we were in the studio. And it's really weird and cool. And I kind of think about visual artists that use their own body as their subject, because the brain has to shift, right? Because I can see my body in the video, listening to the composition, thinking about the composition that you're making. And there's this sort of fun window of freedom where, instead of getting on stage and performing and going through all the real time chemistry, I'm removed from it a little bit. And so I'm kind of enjoying that.
Space, 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 stories, earth, language, memory cells, body moving, body moving, body moving, body moving. Body moving, body moving, body moving. I have a thought about this time and aging and aging and aging. It's been really interesting not to be in public, not in this time in public. I was sick in March and I had the virus, and so I've really been at home. The process of getting better, there's some sort of recalibration that's happening on the body, mind, spirit level, explorations on the body level, body, mind, spirit level. There's some sort of recalibration that's happening on the body, mind, spirit level, I think across the globe. And I'm having an experience of the intimacy of this moment. There's like a rebirth of my skeletal system, the intimacy of this moment. And all of that is feeding into the aging process in a very different way. Everything we experience forms our process, right? So I just keep coming to the intimacy of the now, how that intimacy is comforting me in my own aging, especially in response to the being sick. And it's been really surprisingly satisfying to have a process that feels anew in their bodies, minds, spirits.
I like what you're doing. I like the outdoor aspect, because the nature aspect that just comes with that, it's just also its own visual, right? This backdrop of the natural world.
Yeah, there's so many layers. And I think, coming back to the health, so the vibration of the music, the vibration of your composition, paired with the vibration of the environment is interesting. So if there's wind, that's a whole other rhythm.
Mm.
And I think that, if you go to the body on the cellular level and you're outdoors, everything is alive.
So I was thinking about, being struck with this hammer. The hammer at that moment was being used as a weapon to cause harm to me. So I immediately wanted to look up the symbolism behind the hammer. So I went to the internet, and symbolism behind the hammer, it says, the hammer is not only a tool, it represents might, right? Strength. When paired with an anvil, it represents androgyny, which I thought was very appropriate since I am not a feminine presenting woman. I've always been masculine, butch, whatever. I like the term tomboy, whether that's politically correct or not, but I do gravitate. I like to describe myself as a tomboy. So not only is it associated with androgyny, with the hammer and the anvil, but with that, it's often associated with fertility and creation, which fertility is often associated with being female. And I was like, okay, I'm on to something with getting the title for this project. The second part of that, hammer and rain, rain for me, well, it was actually raining that day when I was looking up the symbolism of the hammer. And being sound oriented, I caught on to that. But then I was thinking about rain. Rain and water is often associated with fertility. And as well, I was thinking anyone being struck over the head actually might cry or shed a tear for that. So I thought some type of water associated with the hammer would be a great combination. The two words for me brought together the hard and the soft, which I think as human beings, we are that, hard and the soft, not just one or the other. So the full title became Hammer and Rain, Reflections Through Time. kind of approached all of you is something personal to you or a subject matter that you want to address. And then that's when you spoke to me about sex trafficking.
Yes.
And what's going on in the Philippines.
Yes. So I'm Filipino American, right? And I was born in the Caribbean but grew up here in the United States. So I grew up very privileged. But then in college I did a research paper on sex trafficking for my law class. I took a law class. And I was majoring in social sciences, so I had to take all this stuff. And I remember being in the basement of the University of Michigan Law Library. And there is all these books on sex trafficking in Thailand and the Philippines and India. And I was just like, I remember like yesterday, like, oh my God, this happens. I'm in my privileged first generation American life in this pretty good college, you know, and then I see the realities. I haven't been to the Philippines yet, right? And so I was like, wow, this happens, you know, and I was just going through all the research, and it just made an impact on me. Like, I could have been in a different place. My life could have been different, you know, and I actually had a half-sister who was close to that life, because unfortunately, you know, she would not grow up with my dad. So she could have easily gone to that life. And so this whole parallel, it wasn't so far away from me. And then I started thinking about how the female body, becomes a marketplace for these things. And as a dancer who dances like these different things like modern and also Southeast Asian sort of dance, that it's both sacred and sensual at the same time, and it can be objectified and also celebrated at the same time. So I started thinking about the female body and specifically fetishization of the Asian body, right? And grappling with that.
So I had gotten this fabric that has blue and green in it, as well as this red one that I plan to layer a couple of times over this to kind of dilute the blue color. And whenever she moves, you're going to get a hint of kind of everything, which, you know, that's again one of the things, is trying to play with what they're going to look like as they're moving and how that's going to make the costume look.
Did she talk to you about her Filipino roots?
Yeah,
and,
she showed me actually
some traditional
and that's kind of where
Filipino dance and
and she actually sent me, so I guess they would make these dresses or shawls out of pineapple fibers by the Filipino butterfly sleeves is what she mentioned. And those are, it's interesting to imagine how she plans to dance on them, but that's her thing to figure out.
You mean because...
Yeah, because they're kind of like big and they're structured. They stay right here. So moving around,
She's aware of that?
I'm assuming as a dancer she'd be aware that that's something that could happen. So it's more like a loose interpretation of Filipino butterfly sleeves.
Aside from being whatever identity you are, whether it's Asian or Black, Latina, Indigenous, or whatever, the woman part of it, just carrying a woman's body into the space, and then add on moving, you know, that's, I think I was exploring, I want to explore that, kind of challenging in this piece the audience and their gaze.
For me, my sound vision was representing your Filipino roots.
Yeah.
And then with that breakdown was that underbelly of the sex trafficking trade. And then it kind of alleviates where it kind of comes back to I bring in more of the traditional.
And it's so cool because I hear like the groove. I was like, oh yeah, that's me too.
That's you too. When you sent me those old clips, I was like, oh, we got this.
That's me too.
My first response to that was what?
When I said 8 to 10, I said 8 to 10 minutes.
I'm like, oh my God.
Anyway, it was originally 8 to 10, and then everyone's reaction.
Like giving birth.
I was like, okay, we'll go to the 8. And everyone's pretty much around an 8.5-minute mark that I composed.
It's like you really have to go into a zone for that one. Yeah, and it's good, you know, and the way I responded is exactly right. It's where I am right now. I'm not going to try to do any tricks. I'm going to be very honest in what I can do, what I can do, what I can do, what I can do, what I can do.
So yeah, the idea of saying, okay, now I guess I'll have to kind of create a documentary, like a making of Hammer and Rain, because I just need to say, for integrity purposes, I am not a filmmaker. So here we are, making a film.